Hello, welcome to Stress Recognition and Management. I'm Dr. Wagner, your lovely instructor for this spring 2024 experience. I'd like to welcome you to the course and just spend a couple minutes, which I talk a lot, so it'll be just more than a couple, letting you know my expectations and just a little bit of the lay of the land. When we first started doing online courses, I was very resistant to the template that the IT folks wanted us to use. And then over time, I realized that students taking online classes, if faculty didn't conform to one kind of version, were spending a lot of time, you know, figuring out where things were and how things worked. So I have a fresh perspective. So in any case, I just wanted to take you through a few of the things that are important to how our class works, and then get you started on the right path. So I hope everyone had a good break and you're renewed and re-energized. And if not, this is a space to work on your stress. Recognize where your stress comes from, learn how to manage and even prevent stress, or at least the most negative outcomes of stress. And really just work on yourselves. So I love what I call our personal enrichment classes. We have this one, we have the happiness course, we also have adulting course, that really allow our students to spend some good quality time working on themselves. And I think this is a good one, at least for me. I know my stress and my mental health go hand in hand and are things that I am also still working on. So when we go through the course, what you're going to notice initially is that the course is set up in 2-week modules. So you have a total of 8 modules. And the first one is really just introductory, and then each module after that is going to go through the different dimensions of health, depending on who you talk to. As an undergrad at Ohio University, I learned 11 dimensions of health. You'll see I use some work on the 12 dimensions of wellness, which is a term we'll talk about a little bit later. And then I organized the modules into 8 simply because I think it is doable to do that. And then you'll notice we have physical, environmental, social, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and then I combine occupational and financial because I think as students that kind of makes sense. And not every piece of every module is going to relate to your struggle, but I do encourage you, or even that you might not have any struggle, right? You might just be here for credit or whatever other reason you might be here for. But I encourage you to make the class experience your own. So you'll notice in the first module, you're going to take a basic stress inventory just so you can see, like, where are you? I think we talk a lot. We say, oh, I'm so stressed out. And most of us probably are. But what exactly does that mean? And how does it operate in our lives? And what control do we actually have to work on it? So that's where we'll focus most of our time in the course. So the first module, I do ask you to do a name catcher, even though you are online and we are a larger group nowadays. There's about 100 of you generally in each section, which is lovely. I love the array of diverse experiences and diverse ways that you attack the course material, and really I just find overall teaching this course to be among my favorites. Just as a little side note about me, this is actually my 27th year teaching at Kent State University. This class is one that I developed years ago. I haven't been teaching this course for that long, but I am probably more well known for my human sexuality courses. And I am also the program coordinator for health education and promotion, and then also for integrated health studies. So those of you who are IHS majors or human sexuality minors or community health majors or minors, I'm also your academic advisor. So good to see you. That being said, as a health education specialist, we have unique perspectives on how exactly we handle these things. So I'm not a counselor. This is not a psychology class. I am not here to work in those capacities. But health education specialists are health coaches. We were the first health coaches, if you want to know the truth. Even some of my physician friends are like, well, you call yourself doctor, but I'm the doctor. And it's like, right, but PhDs were the first doctorates, and then you chose to call yourself a doctor. So you copied us, and we have some similarities in our practice, but also some very strong differences. And so you will hopefully notice that in my practice. You will hear that in my comments to you personally. And then each module is going to have usually an introduction from me. And then once I get through the grading and see where everyone is, you'll notice the very first folder, which Canvas calls a module, but it's really just a placeholder, will have Dr. Wagner's course communication videos. So you likely got this one from me in an email welcoming you. You'll also find it in that folder. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, not that I'm trying to be anyone, you could get those notifications there. And then I have also started adding them to announcements because I have noticed that students like to access the content from different spaces. So I want to make sure it's in all of those spaces because I do want to connect with you, and I want to make sure that you have access to that. In that regard, my videos will also generally be captioned. And I say generally because I do use YouTube. It does auto caption. And then I try to remind myself to go back and make sure I've corrected YouTube's interpretation of what I said. And then just because of who I am, maybe because I'm older, I don't know, I like it to have appropriate punctuation. And then also, as I said, make sure that YouTube interpreted what I said, because historically, I've had to make some important corrections. If at any time in the course experience you're struggling or you find something to be difficult or confusing, please let me know. I will generally, if I hear a same question or concern from multiple folks, I'll reach out more generally so that everybody gets the responses. I think that's the downside of an online class. In person, you ask a question, everyone is privy to the question and the response. Online is a little bit more disconnected for my preferences, so every now and then I will do that. But please recognize that I'm not attempting to out your personal questions, nor am I attempting to clarify things. If you were already clear, then just don't worry about those things. It means that perhaps there were some folks who didn't understand or couldn't find the things, and maybe you were okay. So you could also ignore that. All right, back to my outline here. One of the things that you'll notice in each module, so module 1, as I said, is a little bit different because you are going to do your first stress assessment, and then you're also going to notice the assignment for the religious practice absence request. It's a state law that took effect last spring in the state of Ohio that allows all of our students to request a certain number of religious practice experience days, and you simply are asked to put that in writing by the second week, 2 weeks into the term. And so you'll notice in the first module there is a religious practice request. I try to do all of my worksheets in fillable PDFs, and so you should be able to open that. You shouldn't need anything fancy to just complete it and then submit it. You only need to do that if you need those dates, and you'll notice you know what your holidays are, I'm sure, by now. Or just take a look at your calendar and see which ones you might want to request. Because of the fluidity of our process, it's not usually something that's needed for our course, but you know, there are some holidays that last a little bit longer or might involve some fasting or you know, not using technology. So, you know, whatever it is, please just fill it out and then I will respond to you. And I've never, well, I shouldn't say never because it really hasn't been that long, but generally there aren't any issues with me fulfilling those. And last semester, there were some issues. Students were a little agitated. They didn't submit their religious practice request because they didn't need to, but it kept showing this, you know, incomplete assignment. So I have asked you to just submit a quick, like, no request if you don't have a request, and then Canvas will acknowledge that you have submitted the assignment, which is for no credit. It's just the best way I could figure out to allow you to communicate your request to me in a way that I could have in writing like I am required, and then also facilitate that as we go through. Because if necessary, I can then go through in Canvas and adjust whatever it is that you're asking for. And then there are a lot of you, but I also do the name catcher. I do think it's important for me, even in an online, and maybe even especially in an online environment, to be more connected with who you actually are. Some of the assignments I do grade in a more anonymous format because some of you will choose to go really deep and share personal things. And some of you will choose to stay a little bit more surface, and either of those situations is fine. But I just was at commencement and two students were like so excited and we hugged and we were celebrating, and they later followed up and they were like, we were in your stress class. And, I should have said, what are your names? Instead of just being excited. And I probably would have actually remembered. My in-person classes, I do actually print out student selfies and use flashcards to figure out and cement in my brain who each of you are, what your major is, so on and so forth. So those are the things that just help me also connect to you and help, from my perspective at least, broaden our community engagement, even in an online course. Okay, so that's the religious practice request. Each module is going to have generally a planner assignment, a journal assignment, and an assignment. So let's start with planners. So throughout my time here at Kent State, I have noticed that at least American education systems have not done a great job of teaching us as learners how to learn, how to study, how to organize our time. The demands on you are, I think, even heavier than they were when I was where you are. I'm going to be 50 this year, so we didn't have the internet in college. I didn't have an email in college. I didn't have a cell phone in college. So just those things, social media, none of those things existed. So I recognize the extreme amounts of demands for your attention, your time, your energy that are even additional above simply being a undergraduate or graduate student. That being said, you will notice I've combined the sections, so you undergraduate and graduates are in the same section. The only difference is at the end there is a graduate project, which will only be assigned to the students who are taking this course at the 6,000 level course, so who are seeking graduate credit. And we'll talk about more of that. So one of the things, for example, that I've noticed, and I taught Flashes 101 this last semester too. I've taught FYE before, but Flashes 101 is a little different. And students will say, well, this assignment is due April 15th. And it's like, okay, like our taxes, right? I think that might be our tax due date this year. And it's like, but you can't on April 15th say, all right, my taxes are due today. I need to figure this out. Right? So how many of us put on our calendar when we're going to do our taxes, right? Or when we're going to do our assignments? Generally, we're just putting this is due on this date. And so that's one of those things. And so the planner assignments are going to be those that I'm just trying to encourage you to think about it just a little bit differently. You will note that for the planner, I do say, hey, why don't you consider a paper planner? I know you all are have your electronic devices and like your electronic things. And if that's where you want to stay, I'm not forcing you to go paper. But I do encourage a paper planner that has a month, at a glance, and then also the weeks. And then when we really get into some of the assignments, there will be a couple of times where I'll ask you to think about planning an actual day. We're not going to plan all the way down to that level because, again, we're trying to keep ourselves in a healthy sphere. But I have seen a lot of people use the electronic versions really well, and then just instead of taking a quick photo, you might just take a quick screen capture, and you can still pretty cleanly facilitate or meet all the same requirements. You will notice each assignment has specific upload requirements, meaning I restrict the files, right? So some of them are just you need to type in the box, and some of them are you're going to need to re-upload the form that I gave you or the worksheet that I gave you. Usually, as I said, those are PDFs. As a side note, I have a PC, and so a lot of times you'll take a screenshot and it'll be, I think it's Pages or HEIC, which my understanding are Apple or Mac products which I can't open. And so if you're having trouble submitting, if it's not letting you submit, then just double check what the format of that submission is supposed to be, because often that's the issue. And so if you just save it as a PDF or as a JPEG or a PNG or, a neutral file format, then you should be able to upload it. Since the pandemic, I have embraced, for most of my classes, what I call due dates as friendly suggestions. So you will note that the syllabus really does talk about due dates and that work is expected to be turned in on time. And I'm probably going to modify my syllabus just a little bit this semester to include this other notion of, as long as everyone's playing pretty well as a course, then the due dates as friendly suggestions, it's really been working for me. Meaning if you need a little bit more time, you don't even really have to ask for it. Sometimes students are super respectful and you tell me what's going on and ask for the time, but you don't really need to do that. The end of the semester is really the only hard deadline for the course, and I do prefer students stay on task throughout this semester. I don't really want you getting to the end of the semester and then having all the modules, because that's not how the course works. Once you get through Module 1, you'll notice that the modules are set up, and here's my philosophy, that you spend week 1 in the module accessing the content, thinking about the questions that I've posed to you, doing the things in your planner that are required. There also is a journal assignment each module, and you'll notice the journal expectation is that you write in your journal 3 times a week, so each module would have about 6 entries. You're never going to share that with me. That can be paper. Lots of you will tell me that you bought a new notebook to journal. You love journaling or you hate journaling. You could also do a voice journal on your phone or whatever electronic device you prefer. You could type it up, whatever it is. You don't ever actually share that with me. Each journal assignment is going to ask you specific questions to reflect on. So, like I said, for week 1, if each module is, let's think about this dimension, let's think about how it operates, and then hopefully for that second week, then you process some of those things and try some of the things that I've encouraged you to do. And so in that regard, even though you're really only turning things in once every 2 weeks, I do encourage you to attend your online course more often than that, so that you do have the time to really process the information. I just got to tell you, and I'm biased but also honest, the feedback from students through the course is just so wonderful and so personally enriching for me. I have so many examples of things that students have been able to manifest for themselves and work out for themselves that just make me so proud to be here, providing you with this support and this safe space, to work on an important element of just being human. And so then within that regard, the journal space will say, these are the things I want you to think about for credit. Here's what I want you to talk about in your entry. And then I will provide you feedback as is relevant and appropriate. A lot of times it's just me doing some minor health coaching on the side. And then every now and then I will step in a little bit more firmly, especially if I feel like someone is really struggling or might appreciate or benefit from the myriad of abundance of resources we have here on campus. But it's never meant as part of, who am I to tell you how to live your life or what you should do? So always just take it with, okay, this is Wagner and her emojis. Again, I do love the emojis in Canva. I love an emoji in general, but like I said. And then the actual assignment. And so you'll see each of those as you go through as well, each module. All right, so I think that might be it. I'm almost ready to publish the course. I'm about a week early, so that makes me proud. I hope you all are still relaxing. I have a few more courses to go and finish preparing. But here we are, spring, right? A new opportunity, a new year, a new attempt at a different kind of course for most of you. So I hope that you find this space to be helpful and enriching and anything else that you need it to be. And if not, let me know. And if there are things that we need to do or adjust, there's at least one assignment that's, rubs some folks with some difficulty sometimes. So when if that ever happens to you, just let me know. Hey, Dr. Wagner, I'm not sure about this, or what exactly am I, supposed to do here? I don't make an assumption that everybody's in a really clean, healthy mental health space and has the capacity to attend to all of the different elements in the assignment in the way that, I would, I don't even know how to finish that sentence. We each have different capacities at different times. So I want to make sure, again, that you are understanding that this is your space. It's here for you to work on you, and the extent to which you are able to figure that out and connect with the information and the course, and even perhaps myself or others in the class, I encourage you to do that. All right. So I think that's all. I think that was longer than I meant for it to be. And I didn't stay on my little task here. Just double checking. All right. I'm glad to have you here. And as I said, if you need me or if there's anything I can do to help you, please just let me know. All right. Take a deep breath. It's all beginning. Bye-bye.